Hello, my name is Justice Graves and I could talk about my candidacy, but today we are going to talk about something important. We are going to talk about the open town meeting legislative format. It's going to be in a PowerPoint presentation again, like I always do, so I can show you and sort of lead you through what's going on. The reason why I'm doing that is because today at 6 o'clock starts the annual town meeting for the town of Templeton. And I've had a lot of people ask, well, what is an open town meeting? Why do the cops have to be there, and why is your entire town government basically there? So I'm going to explain why in a very simple format that I hope is easy to understand. So I'm going to switch. What is an open town meeting? It is the legislative format for small towns. Think of it as Congress, think of it as the House of Representatives and the Senate meeting. Town leadership is present to explain what the budget is. So in an open town meeting, there is a warrant. That warrant that I've covered earlier in this channel has basically what would be listed as articles or bills down the list, and the town votes in person for whether or not they want to accept those items or those bills. Some of it is more legislative, like wording in the bylaws. Some of it, of course, and honestly the majority of it is what is the operating budget for next year. It's a direct vote, literally, by each individual towns member, by each individual resident of the town, for things such as the school budget, for things such as your local town operating budget, for what your local officials get paid, etc. So it is the town leadership is present, and they will explain everything that is on the budget, line item by line, well, not line item by line item, sometimes line item by line item, but depending on the article. The budget is typically presented in two formats, and it depends on which town, and it depends on your local laws. Sometimes it's line item, meaning that you vote on item by item, such as instead of voting for police vests, radios, and a new cruiser, all in the same bill, you would vote for each of them down the list separately. And it would all, it'd be vote by vote by vote. Omnibus is when that's all together and things are chunked together appropriately. What are the common names and abbreviations for an open town meeting? There's the annual town meeting, which is required by law for most small towns, also known as the ATM. There's the fall town meeting. It's technically a special town meeting, but that might be called the FTM, and then there's also special and spring town meetings, or the STMs. What is the structure of an open town meeting? The moderator essentially acts as the speaker, or think of like the president of the Senate to direct the event. Think of them as the person with the gavel who lets things go or doesn't let things go. They are the one who recognizes people who go up to the microphone. They are the one who goes through everything piece by piece as we go through. The select board / the town manager or the town administrator starts off by explaining and introducing each legislative item, each article on the warrant, each bill, so to speak. Residents are allowed to make limited types of motions on the floor when you're at the microphone to trigger votes or to propose limited amendments to various legislative items, meaning that you can, on the floor, amend certain things, but there's rules for that. Those rules are the moderator's rules that allow for that, and they are not Robert's rules. This is totally different. So in Templeton and in most of Massachusetts, that set of rules are a book called Town Meeting Time, and the moderator has control over the meeting. So just be aware of that. It's not necessarily Robert's rules, it's Town Meeting Time. Later on in the channel, we will go over the rules of town meeting time and how the moderator operates. But for now, just be aware that it's very different and it can be a little confusing. So what is the typical structure of local government then? So if we're looking at an entire town, such as the town of Templeton, you have your executive branch, think of it as your executive branch, with your select board of 5 members and your town administrator and or manager. You have your speaker / moderator. That's an elected official. Your town administrator is not elected. Your select board members are elected, so this is elected. This is not elected. This group of people works with the select board and is appointed by the select board to help them. The speaker and the moderator is an elected official, Advisory are appointed town officials. These officials are appointed by the moderator and voted on by the select board. Sometimes they're voted on by the select board, sometimes they're not. It depends on which one. But the advisory committee are the ones who make recommendations to vote for certain bills or articles or not. And in our town, there are 7 members. And then the legislative power, which is the power of the purse, at least in our town, well, not at least in our town, in most towns, are the actual residents. When you are there, residents have to make the motions, not the moderator. Residents have to go up to the microphone and do things, and residents have to vote by hand or by voice vote to get things passed. Depending on the item, sometimes it is by majority vote, 2/3 vote, or by 9/10 vote. But for today, it's just going to mostly be, it's going to only be by majority and 2/3 vote. There's also groups that put their budgets into annual town budgets that get voted on, but technically a school district is its own municipality, but they don't have the power of the purse like the town does. They do have limited, if they're getting grants and stuff, they can determine where those monies go. But when they're getting money from the town, they have to approach the town at the town meeting. Now, they're not going to necessarily be there. There will be members who will be watching. There will be people who will be there. But by and large, they have no powers at an annual town meeting. They don't. Everything's already been presented in its format. They've submitted what they have to the town. Now it's in the budget, etc. That's just how it is. But they will be there watching. And if they are residents of the town, they can go up to the microphone and defend themselves as individuals or as a committee if that has been voted on in the committee to say certain things in the event of something challenging going on with the budget. And the person who keeps track of the entire meeting is the elected town clerk. So just be aware of that. They're also in charge, I believe, of counting the votes in case anything happens. In an open town meeting, if there are 7 people, usually what happens is when a motion goes to the floor and an article, an item is about to be voted on, there's going to first be a voice vote, and then if 7 people stand up and challenge the results of that, it goes immediately to a hand vote. So then you have to stand up or sit down and put, usually they'll give you colored pieces of paper that have been printed out to designate that you are a resident of the town that, you're voting in. And you'll put your piece of paper up, and then they will count you accordingly, and then the results will be announced, and that will be the end of that. Just so that you are aware. They're also at the end of a warrant, and some of the last bills that you will vote on at an open town meeting are citizens' petitions. You can have your own legislation introduced for the whole town to vote on. There's a limited time to get these documents in, and that's a whole other discussion, but this is just a quick overview. Usually takes getting 10 signatures to get a piece of legislation on the ballot from registered legal voters in town. If it gets pushed and your town requires it, on a second attempt, you may need 100 signatures in the same year to introduce a piece of legislation. It's really a turnout game to get it passed, to get enough people into the town meeting to do that. And all citizens' petitions, if they pass, are sent to your Attorney General's office for review, and they'll look over it. If it's considered illegal, then it will not stand. If it is considered that certain things need to be modified, then if you have those provisions in that piece of legislation, then the Attorney General's office will only modify it in form, not in intent. And if you want to watch an example of a town meeting tonight, you can go to the link in the description for Templeton Community Television's YouTube link for the live stream. The link to the channel is in the description. What to watch for? Well, a few hours ago, I made this, but a few hours ago this already changed. So there's a lot of tension around Articles 9, 13, 15, 19, 21, 22, and then of course, if you want to watch how a citizen's petition goes, it's on 23 and 24. But also Articles 1, apparently now we have other people who are getting upset over Articles 1 and 2, and we're getting upset over Article, I think it's like 5. So it's going to be a very long night of stress. But the link to it is in the description. The link to all the materials for the meeting tonight are in the description. There's another link I put up. I put a link up to what the Massachusetts town of Lexington does for its citizens petitions, so you can see how that works for them. So you can get an idea. Also, if it is a pertinent piece of legislation that may really affect the town, then you will have to do a meeting on it so that different committees can have their voice on it in town. And I also have a link to the training materials for town meeting time, which is the Massachusetts widely adopted the Massachusetts moderators rules for open town meetings. So that is that. All right, that was just a very quick overview. Some of you I know are going to be interested in watching. I'm going to post when the link is live, not just the channel, but when the link is live, I will post it in the group that I know some of us are in, and you'll be able to watch everything live if you want to see how small towns work in action. That is the end of this video. The meeting for me tonight starts at 6. I'm getting there way ahead of time because they're only letting so many people into the auditorium. We have to do it in person, and it's going to be inside. We have to have so many people in the auditorium, and then people will start to get shoved into the overflow areas as appropriate. But there's going to be a turnout because people are already getting really, it's getting really heated. So that is that. That is the video. Like, share, and subscribe if you want more of this content. And that is it. I really appreciate it. Thank you.